I felt conviction about what we were doing, and he felt nothing about it, and I kind of just went with his flow. And I just blew it off. I didn't think anything about it. But within days of marriage, I was really figuring it out.
Things definitely got worse
before
they got better. You guys moved to LA and Steve went on the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
What did that do, being in that kind of high stress environment, what did that bring out in him?
It amplified everything that was already there. The anger, he was just such an angry person. Very intense. Angry, driven. He really became very, very, the camaraderie amongst cops is intense. It's very, very intense, and almost, for some cops, their friends on the department with them almost become more important to them than their actual family. And I definitely would say that about Steve. That was his world. His whole life was being a cop. And they just had this way of living together, and not that they actually lived together, but working together, doing life together, was just a solid rock of a way of life for him. And I was like so not connected in with him. I mean, that really, it wasn't my choice. It was the way he was doing life. And then that is when the sexual sin stuff really started to come out. I knew that there were some issues, but I didn't know what they were. I knew there was real problems in the marriage because he was so mad at me all the time. I mean, he was always angry, always complaining. I could never do anything good enough. I was never measuring up. I was too skinny. He wanted my eyes to be greener, my hair to be blonder. You know, it's like, man, can I do anything right for you? You know, that's kind of how the volcanic explosion that came out of me. And then one day after we had one of those episodes where it was just we never were violent. He never ever laid a hand on me. And I didn't ever fear that from him. But if anything, I would have been leaning more towards violence than him because I was just so frustrated. It's like, what do you want?
What did he want?
I don't know. He was just, because of all of the issues, the sin issues. Mm-hmm. He was away from God. He was completely given over to the world, completely given over to his flesh. And so the anger and the agitation and the intensity of the job, which, by the way, some people are cut out to be cops. You have to be a certain personality to do that and do it well and it not crush you. And he wasn't cut out for it. It was too hard on him. It was difficult.
It brought out all the bad.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. He was a good cop in the sense he was able to get the job done with inmates that needed to get done. But it was not a good situation for Steve. And so all the stress of the job and all of the hidden sin. And then he's got his wife at home who he loved me as much as it was possible for him to love me, but that wasn't very much. He didn't have a lot of love for me or for anybody except himself. I hate to say it, but it's true. That's just the way it was.
When did he finally begin to reveal what was really happening?
After one of those explosions, I just snapped, and I was losing it. And he said, "Sit down, I want to talk to you." So he sat me down and at the kitchen table, and he plopped down in front of me a stack of XXX rated pornographic magazines. I'd never seen pornography in my life. I had no idea what that was. And I started flipping through the pages. There's just no words. That's the problem. That was it. And that's basically what he was saying to me. He was telling me this is why there's so much hostility in our home. Because of this. But this is who I am.
He said those words.
Yeah. And he, in essence, said, this is what I do. If you don't like it, there's the door. That's basically what he was saying to me. So it's like with all of the already verbal, what I would call verbal abuse, I was so beaten down. And I had long since basically walked away from the Lord. I didn't know how to walk with the Lord, never got my feet under me.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know how to cry out to God. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to get into the Word of God. I didn't know that that's what I needed to be doing. I'm not sure I would have. I don't mean to make myself sound like a victim.
Sure.
I just wasn't doing the right things.
Yeah.
But I think because of all the verbal abuse and everything that was going on, I was so beaten down that when that blow came, I was just like leveled. I was just and didn't have the wherewithal to resist, to stand up against it, to leave. I didn't know what to do.
Did he have an idea of a solution?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said magic words to me, and these words, this is all I wanted to hear. I know what will make our marriage work and what will make us both happy. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted us to love each other. I wanted us to be united. And that one thing that would make that happen was if I got involved in his pornography with him. That's what he told me. And I was just so broken and beaten down and so just out of it, so crushed that I agreed. You know, a lot of wives would have just said, pack your bags and get out of here.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I was a young 20-year-old woman, and very much what I see now, I didn't know this then, but what I see now was I was in complete idolatry with him. He was my idol. He was what I was willing to do anything for. And I did.
Was he satisfied?
Sin never is. We went from looking at X-rated magazines to then he introduced me to, this was actually the next night, told me about X-rated videos. We ran out and bought a video recorder to, that wasn't enough. That lasted for a couple of weeks. That worked for a couple of weeks, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So the next step was other people. And yeah, I started using methamphetamine.
Just to cope.
To do it. I could
to be
not
able
have,
to do it.
I could not have done this without the drugs. There's just no way to do it. And I don't even really remember how I was getting those drugs. My husband's a cop. But I believe it was someone I was out working with who was kind of going through something similar. And she was getting me diet pills. So that's how I did that.
So there's this progression of perversion, and that shows that he was dissatisfied with one level of sin or pleasure or whatever, but did the marriage continue to spiral, all the anger and the bitterness, or, was it better in that sense?
Yeah, it was definitely better. Actually, the way it was unfolding to both of us was that it wasn't like a new level of dissatisfaction as much as that was so awesome, let's do this.
For him.
Yeah. And I'm getting pulled into it because I'm getting what I paid for. I wanted a man that loved me, and this was the price I had to pay for that. So we go from one level to the next level to the next level. When we got to level 3, which was other people, that meant more drugs. But his whole attitude during that time towards me was everything I wanted. I was central, man. I was like, I got the throne, finally. At least I thought I did, of his heart. I wanted, in my own way, I wanted him. I didn't see things right. I didn't know things right back then, but I wanted him to worship me. Worshiping other women is unacceptable, but you should be worshiping me. So, I was in my own wrong spirit, and I was willing to go do some terrible things to get what I wanted, to get my idol, to scratch my own itch. And so everything changed pretty dramatically after we did a few of these events with other people. So painful to even talk about it. It really is just... It's not, I don't see it necessarily so much like what Steve did to me. It's more like what I got into, how far I fell from this wonderful Jesus. Man, it's just painful. It's very painful. But...
the amazing thing is his faithfulness.
Yeah. Hosea and Gomer,
Yeah.
Just very, So level 3 with other people was a game changer for me. I was high literally all the time. I would get up in the morning, use my drugs, go to work, use my drugs, come home, use my drugs, and everything
just to keep going in life.
Yeah, to deal with it, to keep my brain from coming down to normal.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't handle it.
The reckoning was way too much.
There was no reckoning. There was no reckoning with it. And everything centered around the weekends. So Friday through Sunday. And so all week long, I'm building up to it. And it didn't take long. I think we did this for a couple of months, and I said, that is it.
Yeah.
And something that happened inside of me that desperately needed to happen was I needed to say to myself, I would rather be single than live like this. So that was big for me. That was a very big deal for me. Not a lot of women don't have to do the things I did, and I understand that. They have the dignity, the self-respect, the confidence to not let somebody do that to them. I wasn't there. I was very weak, very appeasing, all that stuff, so I went along with it. But I finally put my foot down, and it was huge for me to put my foot down.
And you did leave.
I did, and ran off with another man. Went straight into an adulterous relationship. So I just leveled down.
Wow.
Yep. And so that was like, okay, for about a month I had a lot of fun because this guy was like Prince Charming, rich, Christian, all this stuff, all the jazz that I thought, I really believed God sent this guy to me. I really believed it with all my heart, that God sent this guy into my life to get me away from Steve and give me my happily ever after, because that was my goal in life. I had an option. I had two options: to continue with this man, this virtual stranger, basically, that I had ran off with, who was a prince, or go back to devastation. That was my only point of reference for this whole marriage.
Almost choosing the nightmare over the fairy tale.
That was exactly what it was.